The 6-3 podcast. I'm your host, Joel, with my co host, Ben, and it's probably our top show of the whole year. I know we do an MLB preview that's pretty extensive. Last week, we did our college football preview and ranked Michigan players, and then we have our NFL draft, which we get pretty into. So I think out of all that, it's for sure in the top three. So yeah, this week we're gonna split this into two segments. The first segment's gonna be talking extensively on the Detroit Lions and their upcoming season, which kicks off tomorrow against the Chiefs. And then we will also do a Chiefs preview. So with that, let's just go right into the Chiefs preview and kill two birds with one stone on our full season schedule of what's going to happen. So yeah, I mean, Chiefs could be missing Travis Kelce. Chris Jones is still holding out with the contract. Kelsey's going to be a game day decision. It sounds like they aren't revealing any real details on it other than it's a hyperextension. The ACL is still intact. And then those
funny way to say he'll never walk again.
Yeah, I don't. They're never going to say. You're going to say that?
I said it's a funny way to say he'll never walk again.
I mean, me and Chiefs fans, even I've seen it included. I've know a couple Chiefs friends, and I don't know if they're bandwagon by any means, but
yeah.
They kind of want Kelce just to get this over with, sit out, and just prepare for the rest of the year because it's a long season. You don't want to make it any worse. So if he does play, is he there as more of a decoy, takes limited snaps, and then again, how does that reflect on what the Lions do defensively, and how does that change their chances and odds in this game?
I mean, I think it definitely obviously improves their odds. I struggle to see them going into Arrowhead first game of the year and getting a win, but yeah, I mean, without Kelce, that's probably their best weapon, most consistent weapon, I would say. They still have a lot of receivers that are very fast and skilled and have ability, and Mahomes obviously is going to make them 1,000 times better. So I don't think it necessarily. I think it definitely changes the math there for sure. But I would still think the Lions are still going to have to score some points tomorrow in order to win. But it definitely improves their odds of what I think the line's 4.5 for Kansas City right now. So I don't know what it opened.
Wait, they have the Lions at the 4.5 to win?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say
for Kansas City. Okay. So Kansas City is gonna up by 4.5. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't think
they cover that.
Chris Jones hold out. I think it's a pretty accurate. I think that line is actually pretty smart. That'd be pretty. That would make sense to me. A 31 to 28 type game. Something like that. 28-24. I could see that being the score at the end.
So I'm hoping that, but I'm looking at like all the past Thursday night for football games for week 1, and they're the most rusty teams. And the Lions, I really expect to be rusty. They didn't play any of their starters. The Chiefs did the preseason. They played some of their starters. In fact, I think they played everyone at least a little bit. Lions really completely stayed away from any of that outside of rookies.
Yep.
So from that perspective, I'm a little nervous. I don't know if I expect kind of like the Michigan game. It's the very first couple of drives. Michigan's offensive line, which is supposed to be the best in the country, just got beat up, it looked like a little bit. And I think the Lions' really good offensive line might get beat up a little bit, even absent Chris Jones. There's still a Derek Nottie there, Tershawn Wharton, George Karlaftis, Mike Dana. They've got some guys off the edge. The rookie, I think their first pick was Felix Uzoma. So, they've got some guys that can still try to make a push. They're on the front line, even absent Chris Jones. And I just worry about the rust. Game time hits are completely different than preseason hits, and when you haven't even played preseason hits, training camp hits are different than even preseason hits. So it's like, are they really going to be like ready to go, or are they going to have to wake up a little bit? And by then, is it too late with a potential hazard of Patrick Mahomes' offense? Obviously, Kadarius Toney was cleared today with L'Jarius Sneed.
I don't want to see them go down like 2 touchdowns early, like you said, like if they're rusty and they just kind of get punched in the mouth, because then I could totally see that happening and then them kind of clawing back into it, but it just being kind of too little, too late type. You know what I mean? Like they dug themselves too big of a hole. I don't want the rust. The rust is the concern because you're right. They didn't play any starters besides the rookies at all in the preseason, which is a method, I guess. There's other teams that do that, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. But that is a concern for sure.
Yeah, and considering the Patrick Mahomes superstars out there, even Travis Kelce played in this preseason, a really good offensive line. They all played this preseason. I just think from that perspective, I went into this kind of teetering closer to the Lions, just especially with these absences of Kelce and Jones, and Mahomes having to figure it out on his own. Granted, he's the MVP for not only the Super Bowl but the regular season last year. It's going to have to be a coming out party for Kadarius Toney. He's always overhyped every year, and then whether injuries get in the way or attitude, whatever, I just think he's going to have to be a big part of that offense. Right now, I actually am leaning towards like a 24-20 type of game. I think the Lions defense, especially with limited Kelce, I mean, Kelce changes the whole dynamic of an offense, right? You can't cover over top and cover underneath with Kelce. So I think if that's with that limited offense, I think they can hold them under 30, despite their typical explosion. I just think, I think they're going to come up just short of covering that line, though. At 4.5, I think it's 24-20 is kind of where I'm sitting at right now.
Yeah,
and I think I'm picking the Chiefs. So
yeah, I think I'm going to pick it's just hard for me to pick against the Chiefs at home. If this was on the road, I might be leaning Lions even. If it's at home for the Lions, I'm going to go 27-23.
All right, wow, 3 field goals or a missed extra point?
Yeah, 3 field. Well,
I think a missed extra point almost.
This extra point is more likely because Dan Campbell isn't kicking 3 field goals. He might kick one. He might kick one. And
with the Riley Patterson current situation right now, not super excited about that.
No,
hasn't been super great. So I don't know. And maybe it comes down to him missing 2 field goals in this game. That would suck. That would suck. It'd be like the last time they played where they were significantly worse, but Matthew Stafford almost had that win outside of a referee's odd decisions. So yeah, that's going to kick off our Chiefs preview. We can layer way more into this once we've seen what we need to see in this first game. There's still so many questions going into the season. Are the Lions going to be able to carry that momentum over this year? And I just not convinced that they don't have at least a slow start. And I think a slow start is to be expected when you don't play your starters at all.
Yeah. I mean, I get the method.
I get the protecting players.
Especially on the guys on offense. They didn't really need to play Goff much, and that's fine. And they're not deep up front, so you're worried about any of that. 1 injury up front, 2 injuries really. They could probably sustain 1 with 2 injuries up front, and it's game over probably. So I get it, but I'm a little worried about game 1. But you know what? Dan Campbell knows what he's doing. So he's known what he's doing for a while. I should probably trust him at this point, and I do. It's just, it's a little bit unorthodox because you normally see some starters, at least in that second game or third game.
Well, how do you expect this secondary to line up? Because Emmanuel Mosley is officially cleared out. Even though they activated him from the pup, they probably didn't expect him to be out for 4 games. So they probably just have him out this one, maybe the next one, and then good to go. But does it seem like it might be like Jerry Jacobs, Cam Sutton sort of deal, and then maybe Brian Branch or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson?
I think you're going to see a lot of Brian Branch and Gardner-Johnson, especially against the Chiefs offense. Now, Kelce kind of changes things a little bit, but him being in or out. But against that offense, you're going to see them in nickel a lot, just because they're in 11 personnel a lot. They don't usually play a lot of 12 or 22, so or 21 really. So yeah, to me, I think you're going to see Brian Branch a lot. He'll be covering guys in the slot and some tight ends, and I'm not that worried. I mean, my worry is that Mahomes showed a propensity last year. He got really good at just taking the underneath 5 yards at a time all game long. And I don't really know. And a lot of that was Kelce, but I don't really know if the Lions can defend that if he's just willing to not take any risks and just dump it all for 5 or 6 yards every single play. Because at the end of the day, like, eventually they're going to get up in their face, right? And then they might get over the top. So I don't know. I'm still a little concerned, you know, that the Lions get a little frustrated by just giving up 5-6 yards at a time underneath, and then eventually get burned over the top, which you saw happen occasionally last year. So I think this is a lot better secondary, but
secondary has to gel a little bit too, right? I mean, who knows?
Yep.
There's so much new faces that back there. It's just
it'll be a test. I mean, you'll know pretty quick.
And can Aaron Glenn adjust? Obviously, he didn't show the propensity to adjust as
No,
soon
I
as
mean,
we
he
wanted
did.
him to.
He did until he didn't like 10 games in.
Yeah.
He did, but I don't know. He's got his way, and I like his way if it works. I like the idea behind it. It's just I think he's got his guys now. The type of players that he wants to play. So we'll see. I think it'll be a very, very interesting.
What would be
opening?
What would be the key to the Lions to win this game? Obviously, we're not picking them to, but who are the 1 or 2 players that would really need to like have a game to keep it under control? For me, it's Jack Campbell. I think has to have a nice game, and I think like you talked about having them play the underneath. It's how good is his pass coverage, right?
Yeah.
He's obviously a rookie, having to take on one of the greatest quarterbacks in the last decade.
Yeah.
And is he ready to for this stage? RJ has him picked as his defensive rookie of the year. Is he ready and able? And on offense, are we going to have to see Jahmyr Gibbs as the gadget player that Ben Johnson's hyping him up to be? The swing tackle that he's going to play in this game.
I think for me on offense, it's David Montgomery. I think to be able to control the ball, right, to keep the ball away from the Chiefs. Gibbs, super fun to watch Gibbs and all the cool stuff that they might do with him as a gadget guy, and just basic runs out of the backfield. I think he'll still be used with that. But at the end of the day, Montgomery is going to be the guy to control the ball and really be the guy driving that offense forward. With the offensive line, right? And if they're going to control the game and control the clock, that's what they need to do and use him. And then on defense, I like the Jack Campbell pick, but I'm actually going to go with Aiden. Actually, we didn't see any of him, right? And by all accounts, he's just been a monster in practice. So I think he can just wreck the game, as you've seen other elite defensive ends do, and I'm ready to kind of see him take it to that next level. So,
all right. Well, let's get into our next game then. Week 2, Lions Seahawks on the 17th at 1 p.m. It is a home game at Ford Field. What do you expect in this game?
Hope not anything like last year. These guys,
a pure shootout, right? That was nuts.
That was stupid. The whole thing was dumb. I don't know. This will be more of a test for the Lions' run defense probably in the previous week. So you're going to kind of learn a lot about both the teams, both weeks. Kenneth Walker's been really good for the Seahawks. I mean, to me, home opener, I feel like I picked the Lions right now. As of now, I picked the Lions by a touchdown. But I'd have to see them. I still got to see both teams week 1 to really make picks. So I'm not going to necessarily throw a score on it. But at the same time, I do think the Lions are going to win. I think they'll control the game. It'll be much more controlled, under control of a game. And I think the Lions probably have this one circled because they know they let that one get away from them last year, and it kind of cost them a spot in the playoffs. So, I think they're going to come out, and I think they'll play well.
So my thought on this is I think Geno Smith way outperformed who Geno Smith is. So I do expect a regression from Geno Smith this year. Yeah. And is JSN, I don't think he's healthy for week 1. Is he healthy for week 2? Obviously, you still have DK and you have Tyler Lockett. That's fine. And you have a 2-headed monster of Kenneth Walker, and Zach Charbonnet. So I think that's something to think about is can they stop the interior and make sure that Kenneth Walker doesn't bounce out like against Michigan back in the day. So that's something I'm kind of looking at. You know, the secondary is obviously solid, but again, they've got some young guys. You know, Bobby Wagner's there now. Hopefully, he's probably a shell of himself, I think, at this point. Hopefully, he's outside of his prime.
Yeah.
And I think that their offensive line is significantly weaker than what we're going to face week one. So if we see the impact on week one against the Chiefs, I think it's even greater impact up front against the Seahawks offensive line, who I have ranked at least the bottom half of the league. So yeah, my prediction right now is a Lions win, but for both of these teams, it's definitely a tell of how this season could go this early in the season. The Lions don't have to be as concerned about this if they walk out of Arrowhead with a win. Again, you want to win this one, but it's not a big deal. If you lose in Arrowhead and then you start 0-2, you can already start getting in your own head when you have all the pressure that the media and everybody else in the country is giving the Lions for press. So I think this is a very important game.
Yep, so. I think it is. I think it is just based off of. I think the Lions are going to treat it that way though, because again, I think they let that one get away last year, and it turned out to be a big deal at the end of the year. At the time, nobody thought it would be a big deal, but it did. So
yeah, I mean, obviously, both teams finished where they did not expect to finish. You know, both 9-8. One of them obviously squeaks in the playoffs, thanks to the Rams not quite squeaking that one out. But yeah, week 3, then September 24 at 1 p.m. The Lions are going to host the Atlanta Falcons, who some other people are considering them to be a potential breakout team. I don't have them probably as high as a lot of people have them. I have them as a good team. I just don't think right now with their quarterback situation of Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke, I'm not really convinced. It's kind of the same thing with the 49ers. Yeah, they're stacked on defense. They're going to have a good season, but quarterback situation's iffy, and how that only carries you so far. So they have the weapons. You know, drafting Bijan. They'll already have Kyle Pitts. Drake London should be improved. Offensive line, to me, I think we ranked them top 12, so it's a pretty good line. Defense, missing some secondary dudes. Having some former Lions there, obviously, too, like Jeff Okudah. And then they have Mike Hughes as well. AJ Terrell has been a beast for them in the secondary. So we'll see if that young secondary is not what the Lions had. I think the Lions still can come away with this one, even pretty handedly. I'm kind of picking at least a 13-point win.
Yeah, it's hard to pick multiple touchdowns in the NFL, but I do think the Lions will win it pretty easily. I think they'll control it. The Seahawks are probably a year away from me. And I agree. Don't fully trust their quarterback situation. I think I've always been a Heineke guy, but and he and Ritter are basically the same guy to me. They're career backups, in my opinion. Solid backups, decent. You know, can win you some games with a good team around them, but they aren't quite there yet. So, yeah.
Yeah, they seem to be following the same trajectory as the Bears, who we'll obviously talk about here pretty soon, but maybe at least a year, probably 2 away. So all right, the next week on a short week, we talked about Lions going to Lambeau on a Thursday night game, September 28th, 8:15. It is our chance to see Jordan Love for a full game. I'm not planning on watching any Packers games through and through until this point. Maybe some highlights, but how many highlights are they going to have with Jordan Love now at quarterback? If they have another Hall of Fame quarterback, though, I swear. Right now I'm kind of leaning towards it'll be a rough season for Packers fans who have been pretty blessed the last 23 years.
Yeah, so, I don't know. It's hard to pick a Lions win at Lambeau, even though I know they just did it on our most recent real game. But I'm going to here. It's still really hard to pick that, but it's not super late in the year. So it won't be like ice cold. And I know it's a Thursday night game. Lions will be hyped up to play. And I just don't think Green Bay is going to be very good. So, at all. So.
Yeah, I don't think Jordan. I think Jordan Love is actually going to be a serviceable quarterback at some point. There's a lot of talk,
but he's not going to be Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I don't think it's going to be this year. I think he's going to have a decent year. I think he may even exceed some people's expectations, but I don't think he's going to have like some Pro Bowl year or anything at all this year. So, even with their running back room being top 5 in the league, defense being pretty solid. I think this is gonna be a lower scoring game being in
Mhm.
Lambeau, but again, I think the Lions can squeak it out. Maybe it might even be as low as like 17-13 or
Yep.
something. So especially just Thursday night games, short rest, a little dragged. So I kind of expect that kind of 4-point win, low scoring.
Yep.
Um, then they get a nice little break until they have to play the Panthers, going back to Ford Field, October 8th. Panthers. I think I had finished. I remember. I think I have them finishing second to last in the NFC South.
Yep.
Um,
The Lions better win this game.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, is DJ Shark gonna have like a vengeance game, or
No.
is he
No,
gonna?
and you know what? I actually do like some of the pieces that the Panthers have, and I think they're building it the right way now. But they're like 4 years away from me. So no, the Lions better win by at least 10 points.
Is it bad that actually I want Bryce Young to be healthy still? Like, Andy Dalton still sometimes worries me because sometimes he just pulls a random game out of his butt and he's just like,
No, I
what?
think Bryce Young's actually going to be really good. So
Yeah.
so give me Andy Dalton. He's like too old to be good anymore.
All right. Sometimes he throws a rabbit out of his hat, pulls a rabbit out of his
That's
hat.
fine. He won't do it. Not this game.
Yeah. Again, they get Brian Burns. They have a really good linebacker group. Secondary actually could be good with JC Horn finally getting some playing time. We'll see how he actually is, but I really
Yep.
like Panthers secondary too. It is their offense though, where it's like, can they move? Jonathan Mingo, some people project as a sleeper. There's you have Chark, Thielen, who's super elderly.
Yep.
I think he's Marvin Jones Jr. is actually the oldest receiver in the league right now, though.
Yeah.
And then Hayden Hurst and a mediocre O line, even with Ike Ekwonu, super high on their offensive line. So the line should come away with this win too. Which here we are projecting the Lions with one loss at this point, not bad as a 4-1 start. Do they keep it going against the Buccaneers, another NFC South? Which to me, Buccaneers Buccaneers might have the first overall pick, honestly.
Yeah,
So
they're going to be in the top three. So I would think. I mean, unless they shock. So yes, they should be 5-1 after week 6 games.
yeah, obviously it's in Tampa, and I'm kind of glad this is one of the away games they have. I mean, if you can take on a projected easy team, I guess no NFL win is easy, but
No.
I don't see anything on this roster for the Bucks that's like really got to circle that guy. Even Mike Evans, obviously now demanding a trade, getting out of there.
Right.
So it's going to only make them a little bit worse. So I think Lions double digits. I think here. So
Yes, I think I would pick them by double digits right now.
then they got to travel Tampa Bay up to the east in Baltimore to take on the Ravens and Lamar Jackson's new contract. If Lamar Jackson is turned into Albert Haynesworth and taken a ton of money just to suck, it's kind of ideal. I don't think I think the Ravens have a pretty good roster. I think getting Odell Beckham was big. I think Zay Flowers is a sleeper rookie of the year. And Rashad Bateman's obviously there. It's the best receiving group he's probably had since he's been there. And it's not far enough in the season for me to be like that wear and tear is really taking Lamar Jackson toll. Obviously, it is middle of the year almost, but it's not.
I'm gonna pick Baltimore in this one. I just think if it's at Baltimore, and I think they're one of the top 2 or 3 teams roster talent in the NFL right now. So, and the Lions, even though at that point it'd be a huge game because I think both teams could have maybe no or one loss. I haven't looked deeply at the Ravens schedule, but they'll be really good at that point too. So, but I'm going to pick Baltimore in this one. If Lamar Jackson's healthy for sure. I know he's had some injury issues in the previous years, but assuming he's healthy, they'll win, and probably not handily because I do think the Lions will put up a good fight, but the Lions have also struggled with running QBs. So, and he is the runningest of all running QBs right now. So,
I mean, they shut him down in the last time they played him, and it was Justin Tucker, 66-yarder that had to get it for him.
That's true. It's true, but
it's in Baltimore. It's in Baltimore though. It does make me a little nervous on foreign soil. So I'm leaning towards the Ravens too, and I think the Lions are due for a dud at some point too. So the Ravens could win this one by double digits. So yeah, 5-2 start, still not too shabby. We move to the Raiders game 8 days later. Is that a Monday game? That might be a Monday game.
Yep.
Monday
night.
Yeah, 8:15. Yeah, and taking on the Vegas Raiders, who Jimmy G is the QB right now, and he's not the long-term answer, obviously. But I don't really I mean, outside of Josh Jacobs, I'm not really a big fan of the rest of this roster.
No.
They have some pieces, but I think the Lions, even up and down, you at least feel like comfortable with everything you have there. So barring no crazy injuries by the middle of the year here, I think the Lions can improve to 6-2 against the Raiders with a W.
I agree. I think they should win this game Monday night. It's been a minute since Ford Field had a Monday night game. I think it'll be super fun. Tickets are like $175 right now, so that's fun.
That's probably the worst seats too. I mean, I imagine with inflation and them being better, that's probably the worst seats. I used to have good seats just 3 years ago that were 135.
Yep.
So they're good now. So and a Monday, I bet those are the cheap seats.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then after that, they gotta go to Los Angeles. They got to take on Los Angeles Chargers here. And the Chargers are one of my sleeper teams for the AFC Championship. I don't think I've logged them officially at that, but I'm pretty high on the Chargers this year. I think their defense, if they can stay healthy, with like Nick, Joey Bosa, Derwin James, Khalil Mack, if all those guys are healthy, I think there's some big things in store for the Chargers. Justin Herbert, I think, is a top 5 quarterback in the league. Austin Eckler's top 3 running back in the league. I think 4 receivers deep are going to be able to put up some numbers this year. Gerald Everett, I think, is there. Yeah. So I like the Chargers, and with it being in LA, I am obviously they have terrible home field advantage there, but I'm taking the Chargers in this game.
Yeah, I will take the Chargers as well. I just think I agree. They're probably one of the top 3, 4 rosters right now, in my opinion. I think the Lions will struggle a little bit in that game, especially coming off the high of that Monday night game, even though they should be way better than the Raiders regardless. I think it'll be a little bit of a letdown. Although they do have the bye week in between, it looks like, right?
Yep, so, they do.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm actually going to disagree. I'm going to pick the Lions win.
It's about time. I was just going to say something. We've been the same on every game so far.
Without the bye week, I would think no, but with the bye week, I'm going to pick a Lions win.
All right. As long as they don't let the rust accumulate, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully they stay.
If they can get healthy, they'll probably be banged up at that point. Somebody will be hurt.
I think you're right. Even with a bye week, though, they're in a different position than they were, in several last season's bye weeks, where it's like, okay, they aren't feeling super confident going on the bye week. At this point, with them beating the Raiders, they're 6-2 going into a bye week. They should feel pretty confident and feel like, okay, this matters. Every win counts going in and out. So maybe that momentum does ride. I think still for now, I'm picking the Chargers. Maybe by the time we get to, that weekend, we preview that game a little bit differently. But right now I'm going to stick with Chargers face value. They get a chance to rebound, in my opinion, though, against the Bears playing a home game. Bears division rival. They also look like they're on the up, but similar to the Falcons, I think they're a year or two away. And being a home game, I think this one's a little easier to pick than maybe their away game in Soldier. So I'm feeling good as a bounce back win here.
Yeah, I think they'll take care of business here, and I actually worry a little bit about the game in Soldier Field 3 weeks later, but I think at home Lions will take care of business, win by probably double digits is what I would pick it as. Really, I think they are that much better than the Bears right now. Could change my mind as we get a little closer, but right now I definitely have the Lions in that one.
Yeah, if Justin Fields turns into Jalen Hurts, you get a little more nervous about it, but that's why maybe I'll pick that for the Soldier Field win. But right now, Lions face value, and then they go back-to-back division rival with the Packers. It looks like they're cramming in a lot of their division games here in like the last 7 weeks. So they get to play the Packers here at home. We talked about their Lambeau game a little earlier, and still had them beating the Packers there on that Thursday game. But I think that means it's a sweep, in my opinion. I think they can beat the Packers at home.
I think they'll beat the Packers soundly in this game.
Um,
So I think it'll be even close. So
and then December 3. So
Mhm.
that's the Thanksgiving game with the Packers. They got both Thursday games outside of Kansas City against the Packers. That's kind of lame.
Yep.
That's lame stuff, but
Yeah.
whatever. And then the Saints. So the Saints are a sleeper team for me, as well. I'm pretty high on the Saints actually. Um, if they're healthy, again, face value, looking at it,
Yeah.
Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara is back from suspension by then. They
Yeah.
have a strong defense, Demario Davis, Cameron Jordan, secondary with the secondary looks pretty good too, with Marshawn Lattimore and Tyrann Matthew is there now too. So I like the Saints. And this being in New Orleans, I am taking the Saints to win this one.
Yeah, I'll take the Saints in this one as well. Close though. I think it'll be a really good game. I think the Lions overall will be a better team than the Saints. I just think they'll slip up here.
They do it again. It comes at a decent time where they have a little bit longer time to prep because they played the Thanksgiving game before that. So that could come into play later. Then the Lions do travel to Soldier Field. So again, back-to-back road games on the 10th of December. How do you feel with the Lions going to Soldier?
I worry about it, but I am going to pick them to win right now. I just think that late in the year, I think the Lions will kind of be buckled down. So I'll pick a Lions close victory.
Yeah. Yeah, I worry if there's another game here coming in the final stretch where it's like, okay, they're going to lose a game maybe they shouldn't lose. And I think the Bears might fall into that category. Obviously they're feeling confident. And you really don't want, in my opinion, losing to the Saints, you don't really want to lose 2 in a row. So I'm hoping that the Lions avoid any 2 in a row streaks in the season. It's tough. I think, worst case, I think they go 4-2 in the division though. So I feel pretty good about that. And if that means one of those is probably coming in at this loss here, I'm gonna say right now, Lions lose at Soldier.
All right.
But it's close. It could go either way. Just maybe mixing up a little bit of difference in some of our picks. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough game to pick right now. So and I just don't. They went 5-1 in division last year, which is actually, I think there's 2 teams that went 6-0 in their division last year, and the Lions were the only team to go 5-1. So Lions were 3rd best in the league and then against their division. So that's at least something. I just don't know if they can duplicate that. Then they get a home game against the Denver Broncos. Is it a reinvigorated Denver Broncos, improved? Russell Wilson, is Javonte Williams healthy? Sean Payton's coaching. Does it change things here?
See, that game's also a flex game. It could be on Saturday or Sunday.
It does say TV, yeah.
I'm going to pick Lions. I'm at home. I think I'm going to pick the Lions in this game. I just think the Broncos, I just don't think they're put together that great. So Sean Payton will improve them one way or the other, but he's also been out of the game for a while, out of coaching at least for a while. So, I think Lions will be ready to go. I think it'll be a good game though. So
yeah, I think the Broncos go into this game actually with 6 or 7 wins already. So I think they'll at least be a team that Lions might think about. How they finish is a completely different story. With it being a home game though, I'm feeling pretty good about it. And if it does get flexed, especially to prime time, I think Lions are going to hopefully thrive under prime time at this stage of the year, where they look like a perennial playoff team with the record that we have them at this point. So I like that. And I think they need to win this for the sake of, they could potentially lose 4 in a row. Looking at this next game in Minneapolis against the Vikings, who I think are probably their biggest test in their division this year. With it being in Minneapolis, especially, I'm picking the Vikings to win this game. So that does make that Broncos game a must win.
Yeah, for the most part. I will pick the Vikings as well, but they were definitely the worst, not the worst, but they were one of the worst, like however many games they won last year.
Yeah, 13, they went 13-4, yeah.
13, win teams I've ever seen. That defense was horrendous. I don't think it's going to be that much better this year. The offense though is really good. So
yeah, I actually think they're like a -4 in wins this year, where I kind of have them sitting at. So I have the Lions losing this game. But with that, again, you also notice that their final game, and we'll get to that, is also a potential flex game, which at that point, if it is a division battle, that's a primetime game, and I feel pretty good about Kirk Cousins primetime. So we'll get to that obviously in a second here. The Lions do go to Dallas, take on the Cowboys. This does look like a very rough last stretch, because right now I have the Lions going into the Cowboys game 1-3 in the last 4 games. So I really think they could potentially lose this game against the Cowboys too. So it's concerning.
I think I had them 2-2. I think they could definitely. I'll probably pick them to lose in this game though.
Primetime game again.
Yeah.
And in Dallas, I don't see a dub in this one right now. I am gonna take the Cowboys in this. That does make me very nervous about hopefully not them feeling like they're choking this season away, with the way I have this lining out. But I think they can finish strong with a primetime game, or no matter what time this is, with their final game being a home game against the Vikings. Crossing my fingers, it's not similar to that situation, 2013, 2014, or was it 15, where they played the Packers and they had to win that game to get into the playoffs, and it didn't.
I think, I mean, the way we both have it lined up, I think they'll be solidly in at that point. But yeah, finish strong, win that game, and we're looking pretty good. The best part about going through this schedule, though, is like I don't see any like automatic L's on this schedule. Like I could see the Lions winning all these games. I don't think they will, but they certainly won't. But like I don't see any just like, oh my God, there's zero chance, right? On the schedule, right? Like the one that I worry the most about are obviously tomorrow. And
I think the Ravens away game is
Ravens
tough.
game is probably the closest thing to an automatic L, because I think they're gonna be good and it's there. And the Cowboys game. Those are 3 games. Right.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue Chargers, Saints, depending on how high you are on those teams, but
I'm not super high on the Saints. I'm higher on the Chargers. But I think coming off the bye with the Chargers makes me feel better. And so so pick of, let's say there's 4 of those games. They could win one of those games, and I'd be fine with that. Right.
True, and their odds are pretty high to even steal one, right?
Yeah, you could steal one, and it wouldn't surprise me if they won 2. Really wouldn't. So, yeah, I feel really good about this season. I really, I think this should be a fun year, unless 16 gets hurt, then we got problems.
So I'm looking at your wins. I have them at 10-7 on the way that I picked this out, which I think they should at the very least be a wild card if somehow another team in their division plays better than that. I don't think they are. And you have lost the Cowboys, you have the loss of the Vikings on the road, right? And then you're picking them to win against the Bears. You have them losing for now against the Saints, or do you have them beating the Saints?
Losing.
Okay. And then Chargers, you have them beat the Chargers, that's right. You have them losing against the Ravens. And then against the Chiefs.
Yep.
So that's 5 losses? I don't think you have. Okay, so you have them at 12-5 now? Okay. So maybe we'll cross our fingers for an 11-6 middle ground, right?
11-6, right in between would be money. I would take that all day long.
That'd be sweet. All right. Well, then we'll be right back after these short messages.
I like it.